Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, I want to help you avoid elk hunting failure by better understanding how to avoid getting burned out before the hunt even gets good. If you have a tendency to go too hard, too fast, or by the time the opportunities actually showed up, you're already at camp, at home, or you feel tired, rushed, and have a tendency to make bad decisions under pressure, this episode is for you. If you're not familiar with who I am, I've been hunting and guiding Western big game for over 34 years, and I've been a professional strength conditioning and nutrition coach for more than 30 years, and I'm here to help you become a more successful and consistent elk hunter and outdoorsman. This episode is going to change how you approach the mountain. I'm going to show you what actually causes burnout and, more importantly, how to avoid it so you can stay on the mountain, stay in elk, stay sharp, stay consistent and effective when it matters most. Most elk hunters think burnout is a toughness problem. They believe if they were just more disciplined, more driven, or mentally tougher, they wouldn't hit the wall halfway through a hunt. And that can absolutely be true. But what if that's not the issue? Sometimes burnout isn't a lack of toughness, it's mismanaged output. And it follows a pattern almost every time. Day one or two, you come in hot. You're excited, motivated, push hard, covering miles, gaining elevation, trying to make something happen fast. By day 3 or 4, fatigue starts to creep in. Your legs feel heavy, your pace slows, and you start making small compromises. By day 5 and beyond, it's not just physical anymore. Your decision making drops. You start rushing setups, ignoring wind, second guessing moves, or avoiding effort altogether. That's part of burnout. And it's not just being tired, it's a combination of physical fatigue, mental fatigue, and decision fatigue all stacking on top of each other. And when that happens, you lose the three things that matter most in elk hunting: consistency, awareness, and your ability to execute. You're still out there, you're still putting in time, but you're no longer operating at a level that creates opportunities. And that's why this matters, because elk hunting isn't about who can go the hardest for 1 or 2 days. It's about who can stay effective over the course of an entire hunt or season. And that requires a shift in how you think about effort. The goal isn't just to push harder, it's to last longer at a higher level. The biggest mistake I see a lot of elk hunters make is pretty simple. They hunt too hard too early in the hunt. They show up on the mountain and immediately go into attack mode. Too much elevation, too much distance, too fast. It feels productive. It feels like you're doing what it takes, but what you're really doing is burning through energy with no real return. You're burning matches early and you don't get those back. The first day or two, you're covering ground, pushing into basins, climbing ridges, trying to force an encounter. And in the process, you're either blowing elk out before you even understand the area, or you're moving so fast you're walking past good opportunities without ever realizing it. And that's the problem with the grind harder mindset. It's built on effort, not effectiveness. And the reality is, elk hunting is not a one-day effort. It's a multi-day system, right? Or multi-week system. And if your entire approach is based on just going as hard as possible right out of the gate, you're setting yourself up to decline right when the hunt actually starts to come together. And this is where you need to shift your thinking. Instead of effort dumping, just pouring everything you have into the mountain, you need to start thinking of it in terms of energy management. How much are you actually using? When are you using it? And what are you getting back in return? Because the goal isn't to feel like you worked hard. The goal is to stay effective long enough to capitalize when it matters. And if you blow yourself out early, you won't be ready when that moment actually shows up. The real advantage in elk hunting isn't how hard you can go, it's how well you can manage your output over time. Elite hunters don't try to maximize effort, they manage it. They understand that every climb, every mile, every decision has a cost. And if you don't control that cost, it's going to compound fast. And this is where energy management becomes a system you can actually control. Now, there are 4 core pillars here we're going to talk about: pacing, nutrition, hydration, and recovery. Now, if one of those breaks down, your performance is going to follow. But if you manage all 4, you can stay consistent when everybody else starts fading. So let's start with pacing. Most elk hunters move too fast, especially early in the hunt. They rush climbs, push through terrain without response, and spike their heart rate constantly. And that burns energy you don't get back. Controlled hiking speed keeps your output sustainable and your awareness intact. Then nutrition and hydration. You can't run on empty in the mountains, right? Small, consistent fueling throughout the day keeps your energy stable and your mind clear. The same goes for hydration. Once you're behind, it's really hard to catch up. And recovery, it matters just as much. Strategic stops, short rests, and even controlling your breathing on climbs allows your body to stay within a manageable range instead of constantly redlining. And that leads to the key concept here. You should be hunting at about 70 to 80% of your sustainable output, not max effort. Not coasting, obviously, controlled, repeatable effort that you can maintain day after day. Because in elk hunting, you don't win by just going the hardest, you win by being the last one executing well. Hey, if you hunt public land elk and you're tired of grinding through random seasons, I built the elk hunting series of ebooks for you. Most hunters don't struggle because they lack effort. They struggle because they lack a system. And that's exactly why I built the elk hunting ebook series as a complete progressive framework for Western elk hunters who are done guessing and ready to hunt with intention. Volume 1 is going to be Foundations and Reality. I reset your mindset and expose the assumptions that quietly wreck seasons. In Volume 2, Finding Elk and Understanding Pressure, you'll learn how elk actually move under pressure so you can anticipate instead of react. In Volume 3, Terrain, Wind, and Position, I break down how to use landscape and thermals to consistently create opportunities. In Volume 4, Calling, Silence, and Pressure, sound becomes a decision tool, not an impulse. In Volume 5, Bow Hunting Execution, we're talking about close range strategy so you can finish your encounters. And in Volume 6, Late Season and Post-Rut, we're talking about how elk shift after the rut and how to adapt when others quit. This is a system built for consistency. This isn't theory. It's a structured system to help you find elk, read country, and make confident decisions every season. Buy each volume individually or bundle them all to save 50% off at backboneunlimited.com. Now, if you want to avoid burnout, you have to stop treating the entire day like it deserves the same level of effort, because it doesn't. A good elk hunting day is structured, not just endured, right? You need to break it into 3 phases: the morning execution window, the midday reset window, and the evening execution window. Each one has a different purpose, and if you ignore that, you're going to burn energy where it doesn't pay off. The morning and evening are your high value windows, right? That's when elk are most predictable and most killable. That's where your best effort should go. Mentally sharp, physically ready, and positioned correctly. Where most hunters mess this up is midday. They treat it like it's just as important as the prime windows, so they keep pushing. More miles, more climbing, more trying to make something happen. But what they're really doing is draining themselves for very little return. Midday should be a reset. It's our lowest odds time of day. That doesn't mean do nothing, right? It means being intentional. This is when you slow down. Maybe you glass more strategically. You relocate with purpose. You eat, you hydrate and recover, all part of the hunt, all very important parts of the hunt. You're still hunting, but you're doing it in a way that preserves energy instead of just burning it. And this is also where you make better decisions. When you're not rushed or exhausted, you can evaluate terrain better and wind and movement patterns more clearly. The key is simple: protect your high value windows. Don't waste your legs and your focus when the odds are low. Save it for when it matters most. Now, mental fatigue is the part most hunters never see coming, but it's what costs more opportunities than anything else. You can still be physically capable and completely ineffective if your decision making starts to slip. The signs are subtle at first, too. You start second guessing yourself. You rush setups instead of letting them develop. You ignore or misread the wind. You make small compromises that feel justified in the moment, but they stack up fast. And it's not because you don't know what to do. It's because you're tired. And that mental fatigue builds from accumulated stress and physical fatigue. Long days, elevation, lack of recovery, constant decision making, it all adds up. And once it crosses a certain point, your brain starts looking for shortcuts, and that's when mistakes happen. This is where structure becomes critical. If you rely on emotion or what just feels right, your decisions will fall apart when you're tired. But if you rely on a system, you're going to reduce that mental load. And that's why using a system, something like my simple system for elk hunting, can be really useful even in this scenario when we're talking about mountain burnout. Locate, evaluate, position, execute, adjust. The system matters because it gives you a framework to follow when your mind isn't working 100%, when you're fatigued. So instead of guessing, you're working through a process. Instead of reacting, you're making controlled decisions. And that's the key. Structure is going to protect you from yourself when fatigue sets in. Because the reality is, most blown opportunities in elk hunting don't come from a lack of skill. They come from tired decisions made at the wrong time. If you can manage that, you immediately separate yourself from the majority of elk hunters. Now, let's bring this all together into something you can actually use on your next hunt. Avoiding burnout isn't about doing less, it's about doing the right things in a way you can sustain. That's the difference. And when you break it down, the system is simple. First, pace your effort. Stop treating every movement like it needs to be max output. Control your speed, control your breathing, and stay within a range you can repeat day after day. Second, protect your prime windows. Morning and evening are where elk are most predictable and where most of them are killed. That's where your best effort belongs. Everything else in your day should support those windows, not compete with them. Third, fuel consistently. Eat and hydrate and electrolyte before you feel like you need it. Don't wait until you're behind. Stable energy keeps your body working and your mind clear. Fourth, move with purpose. Every step you take in the mountains should have intent. If you're just covering ground to feel productive, like you're hunting because you're moving, you're probably wasting energy. Movement should be tied to a specific plan, not just emotion. And finally, build repeatable days. That's the real shift. Stop chasing just one hard, exhausting day where you feel like you gave everything you had and think that you're going to do that for multiple days. That doesn't win hunts. What wins is stacking solid days where your effort, decisions, and execution stay consistent from start to finish, because elk hunting rewards the hunters who can stay effective the longest. Stop chasing hard days, start building repeatable ones. Most elk hunters burn out because they chase intensity or miles. They measure their hunt by how hard they went, how far they pushed, how much they suffered. I love talking about those things, and for a day or two that can feel like progress, but it usually doesn't last. I see it all the time. Successful elk hunters take a different approach. They sustain their performance, they manage effort, they protect their energy, and they stay sharp long after others have faded. And that's what gives them more consistent opportunities. Not just one big push, but the ability to keep executing when it matters most. That's the shift you need to make. So stop asking, how hard can I go today? And start asking, how well can I perform on day 5, day 15, or even day 30? Because elk hunting isn't won in a single moment of effort. It's won by the hunter who is still thinking clearly, moving with purpose, and executing at a high level when the opportunity finally shows up. Now, if you want to go deeper into elk movement, pressure patterns, terrain positioning, and structured decision making, that's exactly why I built the elk hunting series of ebooks. It's a progressive system designed to help you understand how elk actually use country and how to position yourself accordingly. I have a link to those ebooks in the description. And if you want hands-on application and real-time breakdowns, we have an in-person Elk Camp 2026 that is built around this same philosophy: structure, preparation, and execution in real terrain. 90% of Elk Camp is going to be running you through as many scenarios as we can come up with. You can check that out at backboneunlimited.com. And if you want ongoing access to the Team Backbone community, classroom, my full digital vault of elk resources, private discussions, and direct communication to me for planning, you can join Team Backbone at backboneunlimited.com underneath our membership tab. Everything we talk about here is connected. Preparation is not a single video, it's a system. Thanks for being here. I appreciate all of you. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.